Welcome to episode 49 of the Rex Chapman Show with my super dope homeboy from the Lextown, Josh Hopkins. What up, Josh?
What's happening, Rex Chapman? How you been this week?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. I like your shirt.
Like your shirt. Wildcats. Still in Austin, I see.
Yeah. And you are in Brooklyn.
I'm
Looks
in Brooklyn.
Like a nice day.
It is a nice day. A little muggy. How about the temp there in Texas?
It's been triple digits for like 46 or 7 days in a row. So been pretty.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped about our guest. Hey, by the way, have you read anything this week? We got to do book club.
Actually, I read. It's not a book or whatever. It was something short, but at least I read. It was like these people that were like selling insurance, and they had this one girl who's hilarious. Her name's Flo, and she just played different characters, and it was real. No, anybody read it?
No, I think you're talking about a TV show again. And then eat my grits, smell my grits, whatever it was. Flo's Diner. That's a TV show. They were selling insurance. And she was like played all these characters. No. That's an insurance commercial.
Oh, but I think I did read that book.
She's an actress.
I think I did read that book.
That's a TV show too.
It was like, Dingy, get over here, Dingy. That was a good book. I'm going to have to revisit that.
Oh, well,
did you read
I
anything?
didn't. I started to because there's this great book that's on Netflix. I started watching it and watched the first couple episodes, and I really got into it. So it's called Blackbird. It's on Apple TV Plus. It's called Blackbird. 6 episodes.
Why are you reading it? Isn't it just?
Yeah. No, I haven't read anything. That was a TV show. You're right.
Well, me either. That's been book club. What episode is this, Rex?
This is episode 49, and I don't know of any. I mean,
so many great 49s.
There aren't. Are there?
There's the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, well, very good.
So,
very good. The only one I know.
Gold Rush. Tim Wakefield was the only one. The knuckleballer.
Tim Wakefield, right? Ron Guidry,
great. See, I don't know 49s really. If I was trying to memorize something, I'd go again with Kyle Macy. Either Jordan in the Olympics or Kyle Macy and Rondo with the Celtics.
Ah, nice.
That's how I would remember a combination or code or something, but I wouldn't know if 49 or I wouldn't go, Tim Wakefield and this. Like, no.
So Josh, if the Live Golf Tournament came to you and said, I want to give you $700, $800, $900 million to join our golf tour, would you do that? If you were maybe arguably the greatest player ever.
So
because that happened to Tiger Woods. Yeah. And he turned it down.
Yeah, that's that's going to be something eventually that because right now it's kind of in the talk sphere and people talk, but that'll be something that when he dies, they'll say.
Yeah.
They'll say, he turned this down. This is a major point in the biography of his career.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And I think that the fascinating part, I watched an interview that he did the other day, and I hadn't really thought about it. It's one thing. Phil Mickelson decided to join up, and he's part of that thing now. But Tiger said something was really interesting, and I kind of took it back to what we talked about recently with the NIL and guys being so young coming into college and earning money. He said, yeah, okay, so you're going to go and you're going to play on this 54-hole thing. we've based everything on 4-day totals forever. He said, because some of these kids, he said, and they are kids, a couple of them. He said, what's the incentive to be great or become great?
Wow.
And really that's because, these guys they play golf to earn, right? If you've been given all the money and now it doesn't matter how you earn what you do in America anymore.
Right.
What's the incentive to continue to grind away and possibly become the greatest ever and all of that? So I thought that was fascinating.
That's an interesting angle on a very complex topic, but you got to commend him for taking, it's easier if you already have $800 million.
Yeah, very true.
You got to commend him for standing up.
I do. Well, buddy, let's get to our guest. We've got this week, episode 49. We have former NFL offensive lineman with the Steelers and Jets, Super Bowl 43 champ, and co-host of Morning Men on Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio. We have Willie Colon.
Hey.
Welcome, Willie.
Thanks for having me, guys. Love your work. Love everything. Rex, I follow you on Twitter. I think you're absolutely brilliant. Your sporadic and randomness is right up my alley. That is so me. So I love it, man.
Fantastic, man. My first question, like Josh and I are just, football is a whole different animal.
Sure.
We grew up we played as little kids, Pee Wee, Pop Warner football and everything. What was it like for you the first time you stepped on a football field? How old were you? Did you love it? And did you take right to it? What was that like?
Yeah, man. So I'm from the South Bronx, New York, man. And I grew up a diehard Giants fan. So Lawrence Taylor was like God. I absolutely loved how he was just lawless. And he played like it and he walked like it. And for me, I was always, I'm the middle child. So I was naturally the rebellion out of my siblings. And I didn't like school. I was not the kid that stood in line and just like followed orders. I was always kind of had that rough and tumble type thing about me. And my dad is from Santurce, Puerto Rico. He didn't know anything about football. He knew basketball and boxing. And so football, he kind of brought me and my brothers along to watch and follow. And so naturally, when you're in New York, you see the Giants or Jets. So we chose the Giants because of Parcells and what they were doing. And LT was everything, man. And I started as a kid reading the paper, the Daily News, and LT was always on the cover, either from having a monster game or getting locked up. And so I always was like, man, this dude is out of his mind. But he was such a game changer. And I just loved everything about him. And so I grew up, I'm from the Bronx. I grew up hooping. I wasn't as good as you, Rex, but I was a hooper, man.
I believe.
And I loved to hoop, and I played a little baseball. I grew up in a Spanish neighborhood, so baseball, I was out of my league at a very early. So my mom was like, not wasting that time with that. So it was really hoops. But when I got to high school, I was still hooping, and I actually missed the freshman orientation or the freshman kind of like training camp. And so when I went to school the first day, I literally over the PA, it was like, freshman football squad. You have, practice today at 3:15. So I ran downstairs, met the coach. His name was Wild Bill Jensen. Wild Bill Jensen had these Coke bottle glasses like this thick. And he used to have, this is wild though. He used to smoke in the school. He used to have a cig, right? And he had this dirty old like beat up baseball hat and a whistle, 2 socks. And he was just a gringy old white dude that just like, are we allowed to cuss on here?
Yeah.
Okay. His fuck level was so low. Like he could not, Rex, when I tell you this man's fuck level was so low, he didn't care if he was black, white, Spanish, whatever. He said what he said and he meant what he said. And so I ran up to him and I was like, hey, coach, my name is Willie Colon. At first I was like, this is a weird story. So when I ran up to him, I was like, sir, my name is William Colon. I want to come out and try out for the freshman football team. So he's smoking a cigarette. He's like, where the hell you been? He goes, my team is ready to go. Like, we're about to practice, son. I don't even know who you are. And so he's like looking me up and down. And he's going, hold up. What size shoe do you wear? And I'm like, oh, I'm a 14. He was like, how old are you? I'm like, well, I'm 14. He was like, 14 wearing a 14? He said, all right, well, get your ass out there tomorrow and we're going to see what you got. And he drops a cig and he walks away. No bullshit. I run home, go to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm trying out for the football team. She's like, no. Like, no, like, we're not. I'm like, Ma, I'm going out for the football team. It's happening. But you got to borrow me a sweatsuit. Sweatsuit. She sent me to Modell's. I went to Modell's. I got a navy blue sweatsuit. Mind you, my school colors are maroon and gold. So I stuck out in a sea of maroon and gold, and I'm the only dude. Like I'm about to sign up for the police academy. And you know, back then, I don't know if the old school football, they used to have the freshman, JV, and varsity all warm up together.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
So imagine the sea of football players, and I'm the last dude in line with no uniform. And I actually go through all the drills. I'm doing up downs. I'm doing diamond pushes. We're running laps. We break for water, and I'm just beat to sweat, dirty. And, you know, kind of like what they do now in the NFL, it takes 3 days to get acclimated before you put on your pads. Well, the team already had their pads on, and they're kind of going through this tackling drills. And I go into tackling drill. I'm ready to fire off. And I remember our D-line coach, his name was Coach Cooper, dog collared me like this, grabbed me and ripped me out of line. And I flew back. I was like, what's going on? He's like, you don't have a helmet? You don't have a mouthpiece? We don't even know who you are. What are you doing? And so he's like, you need equipment, son. You can't. And he's like, were you really about to go tackle? In my mind, I was about to fire on his ass. I didn't know how to form tackle. I didn't know how to do nothing. I just knew the guy.
No helmet.
I was going to shoot my pistol. And so fast forward, man. Wild Bill Jensen, love him to this day. He actually coached me and my brothers and my best friends. And he came up to me at the end of practice. He goes, "You're a fucking crazy son of a bitch." And he's like, I like it. We need guys like you. So fast forward 3 or 4 days later, I get my pads. We ran the triple option. They put me at fullback. So it was just, I was about 6 at the time. I was like 6'5", 11, 6 feet, 250 pounds, wore a size 14 shoe.
Could you run? I guess you could already run.
Yeah, I can move. And so he was just like, I'm putting you at fullback. I don't want you to do anything but run straight. Anything in front of you, just go over. And sure enough, we had our first little inter-team scrimmage. And ran a dive, broke for like 10 yards, mowed through the secondary. And it was history, man. And then it was so crazy about that. I went on to be like team captain, played, and was just like my career. Then my career was gone from there.
Steph Curry's record-breaking three-pointer, Jason Tatum's buzzer-beating alley-oop, Ja Morant's poster dunk. NBA Top Shot is where the greatest moments from NBA history are turned into officially licensed digital collectibles. NBA Top Shot has evolved trading cards by making it easier to buy, sell, and collect by removing the hassle of grading, shoe boxes, and shipping fees. You can buy or sell moments in a few clicks and access them at any time on your phone or computer. Your collection is always at your fingertips. Start collecting Top Shot moments in any way you want. Collect rookie moments from future stars like Evan Mobley and Cade Cunningham. Collect throwback moments from former NBA stars like Shaq and Allen Iverson. Or collect moments from your favorite team to gain access to exclusive perks. Grab your starter pack today, and Top Shot will give you $20 back to start your collection and pick up some of your favorite moments in the marketplace. Go to about.nbatopshot.com/bballnews and get in the game today. You said you didn't like school. I was much the same. Josh was much the same. So you make the football team as a freshman.
Yep.
There's, and you said you became captain. There's leadership that has to go into that. Did you take to that? Did you like that part of it? Like being a team leader?
I don't know if I consciously took to it. I just knew I had always had, growing up in my neighborhood, and, it's kind of like probably stories you've all heard. If you always step back, somebody was going to keep stepping forward. You know what I mean? Right. So yeah. I always kind of had that machismo about me. My dad was a 6'5" Puerto Rican, bald head, gold chains, and never wore pants in the house. He literally wore tube socks and white Fruit of the Loom underwears. And we would have We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in the Bronx, and our apartment was always flooded with people. And when I tell you, he was him every day, and he was a no-nonsense, in-your-face loving, but he always moved forward with everything. So I kind of took on that personality. And so even in sports, I wouldn't say I was fearless, but I was always courageous and confident. And so I think that kind of exuded. And at times you just learn to be fearless. You just got to go into battle. Like, you don't know who you are until you're put in that moment. And so football it allowed me multiple times to kind of be put in that fire to come out of it. And I think people kind of gravitated towards it.
Well, you said because your dad didn't know much about football, but he knew a lot about boxing. Did he ever school you to any of the sweet science?
Oh man, we were a big boxing house. I grew up loving Felix Trinidad. That was like one of my favorite fighters of all time. Obviously, Mike Tyson. Grew up a Cotto fan. I think Vinny Paz. Just like some of the old school guys, Whitaker, Roy, all those guys. Like we're just a fan of all of it. And again, my dad, his mindset with boxing was like, everybody, it's kind of what Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. But his mindset was always like, the biggest thing about boxing is you can't disrespect the sport. Like you gotta box, right? There's no kind of just going through it or figuring out. Like, Rex, if you hooping, like you can warm yourself within the game. You know how to kind of get yourself. And boxing, when you step in that ring it's go. There's no warming up. Like your warm up happened when you was walking into that ring. And so he was always preaching to us, like, learn how to be in the moment. Because if you're not, the moment's going to be gone. Either you're going to get knocked out, right? So always arise to the occasion. So that was kind of his mantra to us. Like, when that bell rings, be ready to go. Whether you like it or not, figure it out fast that you got to go. And that's what boxing presents. There's so many times you watch guys go to the ring, either they're dancing or whatever, national anthem, they're holding belts, whatever. When that ring clears and it's just you and another man, all the bullshit is over. Right. You gotta get locked in. So I think that was him kind of just preaching to us in a very vague way, on a roundabout way, like, just be ready, like, prepare, be ready to go. Cause you never know when your opportunity or when that time you're in a competition, you got to go, whether you like it or not. And that's what kind of boxing is. He taught us, for me and my brothers.
I just can't imagine you. I mean, with your athletic ability, your size, your feet. I mean, I contend that if it weren't for football, which we all love, thank God for football, but heavyweight boxing, you wouldn't hear of these other guys. We would have so many great boxers. I also contend we would be way better at men's soccer if we didn't have football. You think of guys like a Barry Sanders, or just any of these slot receivers. I mean, football, it's our main sport, but we could be real good at those two things if it weren't for it.
Well, yeah, because I think a lot of times and I've grown accustomed to, listen, you play offensive line, a lot of other big men around the world. It just happens. We all gravitate each other, right?
Yeah.
And what it is, a lot of guys, I try to tell people, it's weird because so one of my teammates, Max Starks, who's 6'8", 380 pounds. He's just a mammoth of a man, but is a real gentle soul. And when we played on the field together, I would always be really enraged with him because I always felt like, man, if this dude ever snapped, he would kill everybody. But he just didn't have that kill switch. Mm-hmm. Me, on the other hand, like I told him one day in the huddle, I was like, if I had your size with my temperament, I would be a terrorist. I wouldn't even worried about trying to play a sport. I was trying to own a country, right? Because I would just feel that fucking dominant, right? I was 6'8", 380 with my temperament. I would try to own like an island somewhere, and I would like breed an army of Willies to take over the world, right? And so he would laugh, right? And I would get mad because he would go against guys like James Harrison, who's an absolute, he's a raging pit bull, and James would bring his shit with him, and Max was always trying to like, just work technique, and I'm just like, dog his ass. He doesn't respect the craft, so dog his ass. And then I come to realize, man, a lot of big guys aren't built like that. And I realized because I get to talk to Max and know him, he's actually the godfather of my son. When Max was 14 years old, he was 6'6". He was 6'6", 320 pounds. Wow. What kid in that school was messing with that kid? You know what I mean? Yeah. So all his life, and on top of that, even before he was 14, being a big kid for his whole life, so many people have been telling him, like, easy, big fella, not too much, you're going to hurt him. So it brings this, it suppresses his natural, this line inside him. And so when you get to the NFL, Valek, he played hard and he was a good dude. But I think it was always hard for him to hit that engine because his whole life it was been suppressed. Like, you're too big, you're going to hurt somebody. Or you don't want to do this, you're going to hurt somebody. When for me, it was like, my dad was like, fuck that. Like, like I'd rather you, like, Coach Tomlin used to have a great saying, and I really brought into it. He said, I'd rather you be the hammer than the nail. Right? I'd rather you be the guy to hit first and we'll figure all the shit out later. And then we gotta get you therapy. We'll just whatever. But I'd rather you be on attack than just get beat up. So
I'd rather you apologize. I'd rather apologize than ask for permission.
And so I realized that not every big guy is a dominant alpha, and not every guy who looks apart is built to be a boxer or whatever. It's just you got to respect the individual for who they are and the size in which they can play in.
Just to walk in to Cardinal Hayes, I mean, that's a real high school. Friend of the show, Jamal Mashburn.
George Carlin. George
Carlin. How about that?
Martin Scorsese.
Regis
Philbin.
Robert Cavanaugh.
And then before we get to it, but I saw at Hofstra, there was James Caan, Chris Walken, Francis Ford Coppola. Like, you went where some artists went to school, but you don't just, decide to come in as a freshman unless you're real. That is a big, good school. How quickly till you just ascended to like, oh, I'm going to be a pro? Oh
shit, never. That wasn't even a thought. I mean, you got to understand one thing about my high school years was interesting, and I'm proud of it. But also, I try to teach people what the game does for you. When I got to Hayes, and I started playing football, you got to understand, New York is such a melting pot. Like, where Hayes is on the Grand Concourse, you have Harlem, the Washington Heights, the Bronx. Kids from Brooklyn would come over. So I was playing with kids were from like third world countries, kids that were from Haiti. They were playing from Dominican Republic, whatever. So a lot of these kids from the Caribbean, they only paid attention to football because of the Miami Dolphins. That was the only thing that was showing down there for them. They had access to. So Dan Marino and OJ and all these guys. They that's all they saw. So when they got to the Bronx and they wanted to play football, they only knew baseball, basketball, and European football. They didn't know American football. So I was playing with kids, man, who would show up to practice with soccer cleats, gold chains, I goddamn, the old Sammy Sosa mullet, the slick jerry curl, and be holding the helmet like, I'm ready to go today. You know what I mean? Like, there was and that was just what they knew. So they played with bare bones, and that was life for them. So they were extra gritty, extra tough, wasn't afraid of the moment, and they got after it. So that was kind of like our makeup. I wasn't playing with kids that were from the burbs or like who had two moms. I was playing with dudes who like had no problems with dropping out of school because their uncle did construction. So they'll just get a job. Like, that was their mindset. Like, school was just, well, it gives me something to do. So I grew up kind of just learning different cultures and how they navigated life within themselves and when they got to school. And so football helped me really to just be acclimated to different perspectives in life. And once I got to Hofstra, I didn't know I was going to be a pro till literally my senior year. My offensive line coach, who's the offensive line coach of James Madison right now, Damian Wroblewski. I was having a great year, yada, yada, yada. And I was bouncing at the tour because I needed to make money. Like, once I graduated, I need to, there's such a time where you get kicked off campus, you got to figure out life.
Yeah.
And so my coach is like, listen, man, you're an All-American. You got these teams here coming to see you. You need to go find an agent, and you got to start taking this seriously. And he was like, why aren't you taking it seriously right now? He's like, because you're training your ass off. You got all these accolades. Like, why aren't you taking it seriously? And I was like, Coach, man, year after year, there's 2 or 3 guys who leave this program, go into training camps, and they come back and they're looking for work. Or they're looking to figure out what they're going to do with themselves. I was like, I got a mama living in the Bronx. By the time my mom lived in the Bronx, my family who have lupus, I can't knock on her door and ask her, I need $200 for rent, or I need such and such. I can't do it. So it was me saying, like, if this doesn't work out, I gotta find work, right? So I was bouncing in Long Island, literally while I was training for the NFL. And my agent, Joe Linta out of New Haven, Connecticut, once me and him kind of, joined forces, he was like, if you're gonna take this seriously, you gotta stop bouncing. He's like, you can't report to an NFL team beat up. Like, you know what I mean? Because I was throwing guys out of clubs. I was in backyard scraps. I got in 2 knife fights. He's like, you can't, like, you got to go for physicals. You can't show up to a physical with a knife. Like, that's just, like, you can't do it. Like, it doesn't work like that. You can't show up to the Jets or the Steelers and you got to, you got a bandage from here because you got poked because you throwing a kid out. You know what I mean? It just, he's like, you got to chill the hell out. And at the time I was living with my quarterback, shout out to Bobby Seck. I was living in his house and I was living in like in the attic and I was paying him $500 rent. By the way, I didn't have a car. And then thank God I was courting three or four chicks that kind of got me around. So I was hustling, you know what I mean? I was just trying to figure it out. And on top of trying to make the league. And so once my agent was like, listen, you're going to be fine. We're going to take care of you. We're going to figure this out. And I kind of really started training. And once I started training with other guys who had, trying to get into the league, it all started to tick to me. But I didn't, the league was last to me because I was just like, I want to eat. I just want to eat. I just want to eat and make it.
I want to back up just a bit. So you come out of high school, your mom has lupus and you're tight with your family. Were you always going to stay home? Or did you seriously consider going other places? And what were those places?
Man,
if so.
You know how we started? I hated school.
Yeah.
So I remember it was a scout from, I think, North Carolina. Somebody got wind of me. And I think he went to go look at my grades. And he laughed. He walked out the building like, this kid he can't even qualify. Like, just be done with him. And so I was like, all right, whatever. A lot of schools that wanted me to go the JUCO route and then eventually get myself together and go wherever. That didn't happen. I ended up going to Hofstra. I was originally going to go to UMass, where Coach Mark Whipple was. They had just had a hell of a year. They had a running back by the name of Adrian Morrell, who was lights out good. And UMass was really, really good. And it was a chance for me to get out of New York. Towards the end of my high school career, my mom got really sick. And Hofstra had just won the Atlantic 10. This is when the Atlantic 10 really had football. Yeah. And Hofstra had won the Atlantic 10, and they were doing really good things. And they had a lot of guys that were like NFL prospects. Or at least that's what they tell you when you're And so I was like, I'm going to go to Hofstra. And because I didn't want to be, if something happened, I didn't want to be far away from my mother. I know I wouldn't have been right. So that's ultimately why I went to Hofstra.
Wow. And Hofstra hadn't had a football program now in over a decade. How you feel about that?
Yeah, man, they got rid of us. It's sad because there's so much tradition and so many guys that left Hofstra. I mean, think about this shit. When I was getting recruited to Hofstra, Dan Quinn recruited me. The Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
Coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. Kyle Flood, who's currently the offensive line coach at Texas. Raheem Morris, who's a Hofstra guy, was actually there. He walked me around on my recruiting visit. I laugh at him every time I run into him. I was like, he literally was on my recruiting visit hitting on my sister. He could not stop hitting on my sister. And I was like, Rob, I was like, do you want me to go to school or do you want my sister's number? But he was awesome, right? He was great. And so Hofstra is so rich with guys who made it into the league and made names and done some amazing things. I was fortunate to kind of be a part of that. But Hofstra just made sense for me in a lot of different ways. And that's got to feel, we have something called Wildcat Lodge at University of Kentucky, was built like a ski lodge. They tore that shit down a few years ago. I'm still upset over it. Yeah. I can't imagine your whole program being gone. Well, Rex, you know what it was? I went to, God rest his soul, Coach Joe Gardy, who was the Jets, I think, special teams coach back in the 80s and late 80s, whatever. When my junior and my senior year, I knew we had a good team. Like when I got drafted, we had 5 guys going to the league out of D1 AA program. That's absurd, right? Wow. I knew we had a really good team. But the issue with Hofstra is it's hard to sell football on Long Island on a Saturday afternoon. We're not Alabama, right? Like we're not that program, but we had the talent. Only people that was in our stands were moms, dad, uncles, and whatever girlfriend you had at the time, right? And so sometimes our visiting teams would like sell out their side of the stadium. So we just didn't have that type of draw. However, I said, listen, if we play on Friday night where the kids are still on campus, they get pregame at the game, get blasted, cheer us on, and they can walk right down Hempstead Turnpike and load up some more. And that's going to bring everybody to us. It's Friday night in Long Island because you understand Long Island at the time is only Stony Brook, CW Post, On top of that, high school football is really big on Long Island. So I just feel like we could have did that a lot better. It never worked. Ultimately, they canceled the program because Hofstra wanted to go Ivy League. They wanted the medical route. They wanted to build more buildings, and so they ripped the program apart and they gave it all to the nerds. And left the jocks on the street, pretty much.
This podcast is brought to you by Branded Bills, the best place online for premium headwear and apparel. Branded Bills has hundreds of designs available, including our popular state collection, where you can show your pride with hats, shirts, hoodies, and more for all 50 states. Are you a company looking to brand your business? Branded Bills also offers custom apparel options that can meet your brand standards with fast turnaround and shipping. To shop or learn more, visit brandedbills.com today.
Do you remember Welcome to the NFL moment?
Man, yeah, I had a couple actually. Going to the Steelers was interesting because, during the draft process, I had visited at least 30 teams. And the one team that I thought hated me or didn't like me was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. And so I go into, and this is real talk. I land in Pittsburgh. It was like a Wednesday. I see the team on like a Thursday, walk in the building, the building's buzzing, everybody's walking around, whatever. I had a scout kind of shop me around, kind of show me the weight room and all that stuff they do. Like you meet the training staff, and obviously I met Bill Cowher, who was the head coach at the time. And so you kind of meeting all these people. And I walk into Russ Grimm. So Russ Grimm is one of the original Hogs. He was on Doug Williams' line and won a Super Bowl with the Redskins. Pittsburgh legend, played at the University of Pitt, Hall of Fame or whatever. So anyway, I got this suit on. I don't even know how I got this suit. I got the suit on. And I'm in Russ's office. And he's got the clicker and he's talking to some dude, and the guy leaves, and I sit down. He goes, "Sit down, Rook." He goes, "How's everything?" I was like, "Oh, coach, just I'm giving him all the, the best of me type talk about, I'm God-fearing man, love God and all that shit." And he's sitting there like, yeah, whatever. He goes, let's put up your combine tape, like your pro day tape, because I didn't go to combine. It was my pro day. And he puts it on. It's me running a 40. And then it's me running a drill. And it's me doing like a 3-cone thing. And he goes, "How much you think I care about this?" And so I'm like, I imagine a lot. Like he goes, "I don't give a rat's ass about this. I don't even give a shit. All I need to know, can you move a man from A to B?" And he's looking at me dead in my eyes. He's like, "Can you move a man from A to B?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can do that." He says, "Okay, thank you. Get out of my office." Straight like that.
I love
Walk
it.
out the office. Bill Cowher standing in the hallway. He's like, "Come here, son. Let me talk to you." He goes, "All right, thank you for coming to Pittsburgh. We know a lot about you. We like you, man. And best of luck to you in the future." I go downstairs, have a sandwich, and I'm in a limo back to the airport. That visit took all of 25 minutes. That was my time. Swear to God, that was my time in Pittsburgh. I'm on my way to the airport. I'm in the phone in this black town car. My agent Joe Linton calls me. He goes, "Hey man, how did it go?" Because I had to call him. I was like, how was the visit? I was like, "I think they hate him." I was there for 25 minutes. I probably talked to everybody I met. I probably talked to for a minute. And he was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. These things kind of happen like that." I was like, I had been on multiple visits before that, so I knew it was kind of like a courting process. They kind of give you the princess of the ball type feel. Pittsburgh gave me none of that. Pittsburgh was like, "All right, hey, good, best of luck to you in life." And I kind of get it because they just had won the Super Bowl prior to that, so they were kind of like, they were bigger than life at that point. And so when I got drafted, it was surreal because, I was in my sister's house. And I'm gonna give you the expedient, kind of express story of this. So the draft happens. I'm in my house in Long Island, and I'm staying with my buddy Bobby Seck, who I mentioned, paying $500 rent. Mm-hmm. And literally, when going to the draft, they asked for a landline and they asked for a cell phone. So I gave all the scouts and everybody who needed it the landline and the cell phone. My landline was actually at Bobby's house. My cell phone was on me. I'm watching the day one guys go, and a couple guys I knew, so I was extremely excited to see that happen. And it kept going on and on and on. I was like, I want to get out of here. I went over to my sister's house in the Bronx. Go to my sister's house in the Bronx. It's like late. She's like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, just like uneasy. I just want to kind of get away from everybody. I just want to chill." Boom. Day 2 happens. Now, the night before, I had a Motorola Razr, right? I had a Razr. I plugged my Razr in, Had it right here on the nightstand. Fell asleep on my sister's hot-ass leather couch. Knocked out. My sister wakes up. She's walking through the living room. She's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." I get up, turn on my phone. My phone's not working. My cell phone is literally not working. And I'm freaking out, right? I'm pressing it. I'm trying to throw it in rice. I'm trying to do everything they tell you to do when your phone's not working, right? Boom. Fast forward. The draft is going on. I'm watching the draft. And 3 of the teams that I really thought I was going to go to was Miami, Buffalo, and potentially Cincinnati. Because I think I forgot the Coach Alexander was the all-line coach or whatever. Anyway, all those teams end up picking an offensive line. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, whatever. Phone miraculously turns back on. It's my agent, right? And he goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, "Joe," I was like, "My phone just stopped working." He goes, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm at my sister's house." He was like, "Do you understand you gave your landline? So if one phone doesn't work, that's why didn't you give your landline?" So I was like, "Yeah, but I had to get out of here." He's like, "So you're not," he goes, "Let me understand this. It's the day of the draft. You're not home where you said you were going to be. The number you gave the scouts, you're not there. Your cell phone's not working. And this is the biggest day of your life, and the NFL has no access to you. Is that what you're telling me?" And I'm just like, "Joe, I'm sorry." He goes, "The Dallas Cowboys were going to call you. There was going to be some talks. I don't know what was going to come of it, but there looks like there was a chance they may have taken you then." I goes, I just couldn't talk. I didn't know what to say. I was just empty inside. Hang up the phone. He goes, "Stay by your goddamn phone and just make sure it's on. I'll call you back." Hang up. Done. I'm mortified, pissed off. I feel like my life is out the window. And my sister lived in a hot-ass apartment. And it's so hot in there. And I remember walking to the terrace. I put my phone on the table. My sister's like, "Don't worry. You'll be fine. If this is going to work out." She's trying to keep me calm. And I'm just like, for me, I'm over. I was like, "I don't give a fuck. I'm going to be ripping cigs, handing out tickets at the Garden. I don't know." And so 5-10 minutes pass. My phone rings. My sister runs. She goes, "Do you know 412?" And I'm just like, "I don't know what that." I was like, just pick it up. She picks it up and he goes, "Hello, can I talk to Willie?" And my sister's like, "Some guy's on the phone." I'm like, "Well, who asked who it is?" So my sister goes, "Well, just here, take the phone." So I grabbed the phone. I'm like, "Hello." So he was like, "Oh, is this Willie Colon?" I'm like, "Yes." He goes, he's his son. This is Coach Bill Cowher. Do you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, "Yes." He goes, "Right now, we're going to take you to 4th round, 131. Look at the screen." And I looked at the screen, and it was 4th round, 131, out of Hofstra, Willie Colon. Bro, I melted. I cried. Dropped on my knees. I'm like bawling. My brother-in-law's crying. My sister's crying. And he goes, "Welcome to Pittsburgh, son," and hangs up. Bro, melted. Not crying. All these backyard fights I was having, the whole come up finally unraveled, man. And I cried so fucking hard because so much of that wasn't just making it. It was like, dog. Well, my dad told me, just keep moving forward. And so I'm getting teared up thinking about it. But it was so unreal. And to land in Pittsburgh was just like, it was crazy. But to fast forward, my welcome to the NFL moment was when I checked into Pittsburgh. The rookies, you have OTAs rather. And so I'm in OTAs. And first of all, it happened all in one day, which is wild. The rookies report and then the vets report. So when the rookies get in, you kind of have like a day or two to kind of, get checked in, whatever. The third day, the vets have been on vacation. Mind you, they had just won a Super Bowl. They had beat the Seattle Seahawks in Detroit. And so these dudes had either been partying with each other in the offseason or they had been away from each other. Here I am. They always put the rookies in the back left of the room. And Joey Porter walks in. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" They all look like goddamn X-Men, right? He's just backed up. They got Vegas smelling all over him, right? He's a cream of the crowd. Hines walks in, Ben walks in. Like, it's just like, I just landed, like, it's just like, I'm trying to hold my head, right? I'm watching the Casey Hampton walks in. These dudes are just strutting. Like, it's like one big varsity bop. And so everybody's hugging each other, laughing, like, "Man, I saw what you did." And I'm just sitting there like this in the corner. And fast forward, the room is loud. I just remember being really loud. And I'm just kind of like, just taking it all in. And Bill Cowher walked in. And I never forget this feeling. He walked in and the room was like dead quiet. Dead quiet. And I remember he walked in with a bob, big fucking chin. He had the little draw. He looks over this. He looks over the team. He's quiet. Everybody's just like, dogs ready to bite. And he's like, men, we're Super Bowl champs. We have a target on our back. Let's go to work. Walks out the room. Everybody's like, yeah. I was like, just like, and there was like offensive line over here, D line over here, D, and it's like everybody's like to work, and I'm just like, holy shit! First of all, I didn't even know where Pittsburgh was at. I never knew where it was at on the map. Yeah. And so when I'm there, and then we report to the field, and we're going through our stuff, and I stretch the lines, you go through the motions. And so my coach at the time, Rex Chapman, who's the offensive line coach who I mentioned, he was like, Willie, you're running with the twos, you're going to guard right tackle. Boom. I'm sitting there, we're kind of like having this 9-on-7. I'm sitting in my stance, and I'm looking at our starting fucking championship defense in front of me. Like, just fly. They look like they were all floating on air. I came from a D1 AA school. The biggest guy I ever went against was a 255-pound, 6-foot kid out of like New Hampshire, right? Yeah. I'm sitting here looking at Clark Haynes, right? And I'm looking at Joey Porter across me. I'm looking at goddamn, Troy and Ike Taylor and all these guys, James Ferrier and Foote. I'm looking at Casey Hampton. They're the biggest men I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And so, and Keith was there. And so I remember saying to myself, like, all right, you're either going to die or you're going to and I remember we had gone through a bunch of protections, and it was called 62 protection. So pretty much slide left. I have most dangerous man. If somebody blitzes in the B gap, I got to take him. If he doesn't, I stick to the outside linebacker. Fine, got that. Knew my assignment, we're locked in. I'm watching Troy, and Troy didn't let his hair out. Troy only let his hair out on game day, right? So I couldn't really figure it out who he was. I knew who 43 was, but Troy's like, it looks like he's in the sea somewhere floating around. I can see him buzzing around. And I pick my head up, and he's literally standing in the B gap. So I know my rules. All right, inside threat, you got to take it. If he doesn't go, back outside. Easy assignment. Man, when I tell you, he literally was standing in front of me, locked eyes, turned his back, and started to jog away. So I'm like, oh, no threat, back outside. So ball hikes, I kicked outside. I hear, Willie, what the fuck? You're going to get our quarterback cool. What are the rules, Willie? What are your rules? And I'm sitting there like, oh, and he's like, I know the rules. Do you know the rules? You just got our quarterback killed. And I look over, and Troy is running up the opposite side, and I somehow lock eyes on him. He goes, and I was just like, oh my God. On film, it looks more ridiculous. Like for it to happen in real life was one thing, but on film, he literally turned his back, put his foot down, and on the side of the ball, did a 360 spin and like got around. Damn. And it was just like, this is Jesus Christ in cleats. I just met Jesus himself. But that was like, wow. You got to get ready. This is it.
All the little tricks.
Yeah. Well, and he just gave me a look like, hold on. Like, hold on. So,
take that, young fella.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just fascinated. I love that we're talking football. So your rookie year ends up being Bill Cowher's last season as a coach before Mike takes over, Mike Tomlin. And he has immediate success with those two and Chuck Noll. The Steelers have 3 head coaches going back to 1969. What kind of stability does that provide for a young guy when you're walking in fresh out of Hofstra?
Well, for me, like when I had Bill, man, Bill was, I think everybody in the locker room knew this was going to be his last year. So I think everybody was kind of somber, but also trying to realize, like, no matter how we emotionally feel about the situation, we are Super Bowl champs. We got to go out and play. We got to play like such. So I think him from that level really just try to keep everybody on par. Like, don't get caught up in whatever, I've been here long enough. It's my time to go. And so I think he still kept that kind of, that edge of having a physical practice, being detailed, no nonsense. And he still kept that kind of that mantra of what the Steeler football is all about. And then, I didn't play. I only played, I played the last 2 games of that year. It was my first start was against the Baltimore Ravens Christmas weekend. How about that? Wow. Imagine Christmas weekend, your family's coming in town, and your first game as a Steeler, I'm looking across Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Trevor Price, Chris McCallister. I'm just Trevor. It was like it was like a buzzsaw. Like I was like, obviously, this is where I die. This is where I leave. This bring out the curtain, bring out the stretcher now. Game. And then my next game was against the Cincinnati Bengals, and I played a lot better. And I can remember when Cowher, it's funny, because every time I see him tells a story, we were in Cincinnati, we're in the red zone, and I think somebody had gave Ben a late hit or something, and I ended up swinging on the guy, right? I ended up punching him or doing something ridiculous, and I got a 15-yard penalty. And I can remember Cowher going, Willie, screaming. I could hear him. And so we're in the huddle, and Ben's like, don't look at him. Don't look at him. I was like, he's calling me. He's like, don't, just let him. He goes, get Will, Hines, Willie, get over here. And so he called timeout. He's like, get over here, 74. And I'm like, so I'm puppy walking over to him. And he goes, listen, kid, you got everything I love, everything I want. But if you're going to throw a swing, just don't get fucking caught, all right? He goes, now I'm yelling at you because I have to, because this is what people like to see what I do. I'm really not mad, but just don't get caught. Keep kicking ass out. You playing to have a hell of a game. And he goes, look at me. He goes, shake your head. I shake my head. He goes, all right, get back out there. And he sends me back into the huddle. I get back to the huddle. So Ben is like, you all right, man? Like, yeah, he's like, he motherfucked you, didn't? I'm like, yeah. And then I look over the sideline. He goes, you got it. And I was just like, so that was like our moment. And so when he left, it was sad because I didn't get to absorb.
Yeah.
All, you know what I mean? Like, the guys, the previous, like the Joey Port, they got to ride with Cowher. I only had him for a snippet. But when I had Mike T, man, I think me and Mike T gravitated towards each other because I was extremely hungry. I had, so to speak, blood in my mouth of what the NFL was about. And I knew, I had at the time I was my buddy Max Starks. I was in a competition battle with him going into that next year. And he knew I wasn't going backwards. Like, this was it for me. And he told me honestly, he's like, they like Max. Max is proven. He's a vet. He already has a Super Bowl. I'm giving you one opportunity. One. I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. I'm giving you one opportunity. And that's all I needed to hear. I just needed a shot. And him being a William and Mary guy, me being a Hofstra guy, he knew where I came from. He knew what I was all about. And he allowed me to compete for the position, and I ultimately ended up winning it. But one thing that Mike always did well, man, he kept it real 100 at all times. Like, real, like he never, but he also knew how to give you enough to make you feel like he was loved, but he also gave you enough to recognize where your feet were standing. Like, where were you standing? Like, this is a privilege. This isn't like, you don't have to be here. Like, we have enough.
People, I'm glad you said that. People don't understand. I mean, a lot of people just think pro coaches, they just roll the ball out there, baseball managers, they're just, that the guys are so good. It just couldn't be further from the truth. And, I know I did and played in different franchises that, where the coach didn't hold every single one accountable just the same. Yeah. And when that happens, it undermines everything.
Sure.
Everything. If you're not holding Tim Duncan accountable, just like you are the last guy on the Spurs bench, and that's why it worked for them. That's why Jerry Sloan has success. That's why Eric Spoelstra has success. Mm-hmm. That's why Greg Popovich has success. It's because of the coaches. And Mike Tomlin, you said it perfectly, right?
What's wild, Rex? I tell this story. One thing I think, listen, Mike gets in. If he's in front of you talking, he could wow anybody, right? Like, he just has that magnetism about him. But what I loved about him, and talking about the level of accountability, sometimes, and I know you've been accustomed to this, when you're a head coach with a name or some type of position of authority, it's easy for you to sit in your ivory tower and rule, right? And point and then have everybody underneath you do things. Mike literally every day after practice will walk off the field, and mind you, you've been in the locker room when everybody's taking off tape, laughing. We're gonna see Deborah tonight. Everybody's talking that bullshit. Mike would literally, while the locker room is in chaos, he would walk up to each guy like, "Hey, we cool? Or I need this from you. Or hey, get your ass together." Like, each guy from practice squad to starter. And our locker room was big. He went around and he checked in with every guy, because his mantra or his mindset was, whatever you have to say, I'm not going to give you a chance to walk to me and say it. I'm going to come to you and I'm going to give you the chance to say it. So that's going to check your manhood, and that's going to check who you really about. Because the old Puff Daddy's no bitch assness. There was no bitch assness. There wasn't, because a lot of guys are like, well, I'm going to go up there and say whatever. Or if I'm going to get my... All right, he's like, no, hold that. I'm gonna come to you. So whatever you talking about, lack of playing time, lack of money, lack of this, whatever, Now it's me and you talking. And I'm going to do it around everybody. So I'm going to see how big your cojones is really. And so he did that every day.
Beautiful.
And so he never gave you an opportunity to either feel sorry for yourself. He just is like, dog, if you got time to say it, here I am, Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the 6-time Super Bowl winning Steelers. I'm addressing you. What do you have to say? How's your day? And sometimes it wasn't always him coming at your neck. Like sometimes he'd be like, yo, Willie, because for a long time, I lived by myself. It was just me and my brother and 2 of my best friends. So I had like that whole entourage thing going on. Mm-hmm. He was like, hey, like, how's bro? You got, hey, like, so we would kind of have that type of banner. And then sometimes he would check in with a guy. He'd be like, hey, man, you're too heavy. You're looking like Southside security. I don't want to hear about your weight no more. Get your weight down. Or it'd be like another guy, like, hey, I need you to fake this way, do this. Like every guy, he knew what he had to say to, and he allowed the guy to say something back. And some guys, I literally watched cower in front of him. Like guys who'd be in the huddle or be in the lunchroom, fuck that.
Talking shit, yeah.
Like that. Mike T rolled up and was like, yeah, you're totally right. I can do better. So, of course. You know what I mean? Like it was so surreal because I saw it every day, and he did it every day. And sometimes he would just stand in the middle of the locker room and just talk to the guy. And let me talk to you. Oh, look, hey, I had that conversation. So he did it all the time. So guys, you can never said you may have not liked how he went about certain things, but you could never call him phony. You can never say he was, running behind the title of head coach. He walked up to you and had that conversation. He did. And I've seen it with my own eyes.
Willie, we could do this all day. I want to be sure and get this in.
Yes.
Before we get to a couple wrap ups, your wife has a show right now.
Yeah, thanks, brother. So my wife is called Bell Collectors. My wife's from Jackson, Mississippi. It's kind of like, if you will, if I had to put it in it's like Jersey Housewives type situation. It's on OWN. It airs on Fridays at 9 p.m. She plays the villain on TV. Okay. She's the villain. So if you're looking for the bad guy, that's her. And which is a good thing. I always tell her, I was like, the villain wins. Oh, you can be who you can be who the people like or who the people hate to end up loving. I'll let you choose. And so she's a little bit of villain, but she's a sweetheart. My wife is fearless in a lot of ways, and she's my rock. And I don't just say that because I have to as a husband, but she's dope, and she does a great job of really bringing it.
Fantastic. Tell me about the Willie Colon Foundation real quick.
Thank you, man. So obviously it's it's in honor of my mother. My mother had lupus. She died from lupus 2 years ago.
So sorry.
I appreciate that. And also, me coming from the South Bronx, on the side of bringing awareness to lupus and building money, having money that we can give towards a cure and all that. And we also try to give back to the community. So I have a toy drive. I have a back to school drive. I give out turkeys.
Fantastic.
We try to do as much as I can for the South Bronx and my community. And I have I forgot to mention, I have a sports bar, a beer garden rather. It's called Bricks and Hops. It's on 65 Brooklyn Boulevard in my neighborhood. And the reason we did that was because I realized that, New York, say what you want, it changes by the minute. And I wanted two things. I wanted to make sure that people could go eat wings, have a good time, be amongst good people, and not feel like they have to go to Manhattan to do so. I wanted to make that happen in my own community, and I only hire within my community. So I'm hiring people from the Bronx, providing great service and great food in the Bronx. In my bar, it's called Bricks and Hops. It's in the Mount Haven area. You can look it up. Once again, 65 Brooklyn Boulevard. Coming in.
Let's meet there. Yeah, let's meet there. Now that I'm in Brooklyn.
Just come. I'll come scoop you. We go to my favorite food spots. We'll do it.
That's great. It's like you're my kind of guy. You're like, yeah, got a foundation. We make sure we get beer. Yeah. Beer available for everyone in the neighborhood.
That's right.
I'm like, okay.
Not at all. Carmelo was in my spot the other day because he has a spot.
Was he?
Yeah, he has a spot called Famous Nobodies. It was just literally 2 doors. That's his clothing line. So I know the people that hit Lala's brother and all the people they run it, really good people. So he was in my spot the other day having some wings, talking shop. So he's a good dude.
Terrific. What's your favorite movie, Willie?
Man, you're gonna for a long time. That's a tough question. For a long time, it was Tears of the Sun by Bruce Willis. I love that movie.
Wow.
And it was one of my and it was weird. I grew to love it, but there's a part of the movie because they're all like these SEALs, these hardcore assassin, Delta Force badasses. And there's a scene where they're trying to save this African refugees and bring them to this camp, and they're getting chased by this militia that's trying to kill them. And Bruce Willis and his boys are really kind of just getting them to this point so they can get to safety and get home. And there's a point in the movie where Bruce has to make a decision. Do we continue to save these people, or take care of the mission? And let's get this doctor. They were there to save this doctor, get the doctor and get the hell back to the United States. And as a group, they made a decision like, it's time for us to right our sins. Because they were just some badass dudes at one point who did a lot of bad for whatever reason, but that was the mission. That's what it called for. But they had opportunity to do right one time and to save these people. And it is kind of like this mantra in life. Like sometimes bad dudes turn good, not because they don't have a conscience, because at some point they got to make it right with themselves. They weren't born that way. Maybe life made them that way. So it was just a deep movie. I internalized it. I love Bruce Willis in it. I love the whole scene. There's a lot of good actors in it. So I love Tears of the Sun. And obviously all, Godfathers and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So
love it. Tears of the Sun.
If you could sit front row center for any group or speaker or entertainer, dead or alive.
Wow. Man, I'm dying to meet Mike, man. Mike Tyson. I'm dying. I know Mike has the hot box thing, but I would love to just have one-on-one, just talk with no cameras, no nothing, just have a guy-to-guy conversation. Because I think every time I hear him talk, obviously this man is deals with a lot on a day-to-day basis, but I think there's so much for a guy as savage as he was. I think his respect for humanity is through the roof. I think he looks at a man. I think he doesn't see color. I think he sees a human being. I just would love to just pick his brain about this is perspective about life. And so Mike would be the person, if he was doing like a TED talk, if you will. I would love to be front and center for that.
I got on a Southwest flight from Vegas once, and Mike Tyson, you could just sit anywhere in those flights.
Yeah.
Mike came down and sat
right. I go to Vegas a lot, I know.
Yeah, he sat right next to me leaving Vegas, Mike Tyson. I was like, oh my God. And he was like, I'm this ludicrous. I'm the greatest fighter of all time. I didn't say a word, neither did I. I was like,
I met him at the ESPYs, man. I met him at the ESPYs one time. And let me tell you how crazy it was. I'm backstage at the ESPYs because when we won our Super Bowl against Arizona, we got chose to be like team of the year, or whatever. So we up for the award. So we're all backstage and he's sitting there, but he's like facing a window. And so my buddy was like, hey man, that's Mike Tyson. Let's go. I was like, no, he don't look like he fucking with nobody right now. I ain't trying to be the guy. Let's be cool right now. And so my boy Cool's like, no, let's go say it. He's like, stop being scared. I'm like, all right. So I walk up to him and he's just sitting there calm. And I'm like, I'm like, hey, Mr. Tyson, my name is, and so he doesn't move. So I was like, maybe he don't hear me. So I put my hand on his shoulder. And no bullshit you, bro. This man turned and looked at me slow. And when he locked eyes with me, it looked like I looked into a shark's eye. It was straight black. And I never, not a lot of motherfuckers pump fear in my heart besides my dad, right? Like when he looked at me and I saw his eyes, my heart was like, and I was just like, my name is Willie Cologne. I couldn't even get it out. He was like, hey, brother, how's everything? Pleasure to meet you. And literally turned back and kept looking straight. And I was just like, I almost died over it. Like, I didn't have to say hello to Mike. Mike clearly wasn't fucking with nobody. Why did I have to go say hello to Mike? But that was my only encounter, and that was just enough for me. So, that's it.
When I was playing with the Hornets, Kenny Walker was playing with the Knicks, and a couple of times after games in New York, we went out and met Mike out.
Oh, wow.
As the heavyweight champ of the world at 88, 89, 90-ish.
Sure.
You can. Just what you described, grown men.
Yeah.
Big men.
Yeah.
He walks into the club. If you're behind him, everybody is parting.
Yeah.
It's parting the seas. He was a bad man.
One of my favorite pictures of all time, and if I could ever get it framed, I'm going to get it framed. I got to find a spot in here with all this madness on my walls. My favorite picture of him walking through Harlem with no shirt on and some khaki slacks with Naomi Campbell behind him. If that doesn't scream bad motherfucker, dog, Rex, come on now. Right. And he's young, like he's chiseled. no motherfucking no shirt on. He got church slacks on, and motherfucking young Naomi Campbell wrapped up in a fur coat behind, walking the streets of New York. Come on now, that's the baddest. That's one of the baddest pictures. That's it. That's it. Look at that. Look at him. Come on now. Look at his face. I wish him, man.
And then he wasn't wearing socks in the ring, just black high tops, and tight shorts, that's ready to go.
That's king shit, man. That's king type shit. That's king.
Yeah.
That's like
I saw him in the club in LA a couple of times where I just come around and one time I was just like this with him and I was just like, Gah! And went off. And I'd see him a couple times. It always scared me, but the only guy that scared me more when I saw him was when Suge came to the club. I was like,
"Oh yeah,
really? Let's go." Man, I got a funny story. I know we don't got a lot of time. I tell you,
go
Pittsburgh.
for it.
So my left guard, Chris Kimwatu, we called him Juicy because he looked like the Hawaiian Punch dude. So everybody called him Juice. Juice was awesome. But Juice's brother ran a reggae label. And they were from his brother Maki, but they owned like a reggae company, like music thing, whatever. And Suge was really tight with him and knew him, whatever. So Suge comes to Pittsburgh, and he comes to one of our games. It's Suge, Corrupt. I don't think Daz was there, but it's done. They're all together. And so they're in after the game. We had one, and they're all in Juice's living room, and we're all talking, laughing, smoking, playing cards, and Suge is sitting there. He's talking, scratching his back. He's like, man, I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna go light up and smoke outside. So it's just me and my brother. So me and my brother's like, oh shit, that's Suge Knight. Suge walks in. My buddy Juice lived on the south side. He had a beautiful place in the south side. And so Suge is on the corner, and I went outside to smoke a cigar. And my brother's like, well, I'm gonna go light up. And I'm like, all right, well, we all go outside. So Sugar's already out there. We walk outside, and it's a blizzard. I mean, it's like coming down, right? Like horizontal snow. And it's like right over a street lamp. And me and my brother, huddled up. I'm smoking, he's smoking, and we stand next to Suge. Suge doesn't have a shirt on. He has no shirt on in a blizzard with his big ass diamond earrings, and he's just smoking, and he's looking. And so we get the rapping with him, and he's scratching his back. I'm just like, you all right, man? He goes, man, I just got this motherfucking tattoo done on my back, and it's killing me. It's itching me. He said, this cold weather is making me feel better. Somehow 2 days prior to him landing in Pittsburgh, he had this mural done on his back of like all type of stuff. And he's sitting there scratching his back, smoking a cigarette. And me and my brother was looking at Suge Knight on the south side of Carson Street with Suge Knight. We're all smoking in a blizzard. And I'm like, this is the most unreal scene in American history, right?
Oh my God.
And he goes on to talk about how I remember who's the dude who couldn't read that played for the Redskins that got knocked?
Yeah.
Dexter Manley or something like that?
Yeah, Dexter Manley.
Something like that. He was telling us a story how they knew each other, and that Dexter was, I guess, in trouble some way, and he tried to set him up, and Suge knew it. And Suge kind of like called the audible, and he just went down a rabbit hole with this wild ass story. And we told the story for about like 2 hours. And me and my brother sitting down like this smoking, and we trying to be cool because we next to Suge Knight. You can't be no bitch next to Suge Knight, right? So my brother's not about that. He's like, bro, if I'm cold, I'm leaving, right? So I'm like, you're not leaving me out here. Suge Knight with no shirt on, and you're just not leaving me out here. He was just like, all right. So we're just sitting there. Suge talked to us about 3 hours. 3 hours in this blizzard. He has no shirt on. Me and my brother sitting there. I done finished playing the game. I'm exhausted, drunk too. And my brother just sitting there like, yo, this story has to end. He was just ripping off stories after stories until he finished whatever the hell he was smoking. He was just like, all right, y'all ready to go in? We was like, yo, I think we're ready to go in. And never saw Suge Knight after that.
Yes, Mr. Knight.
I hate to tell you this, Willie, but it's scary to see him in a club because, stuff pops off. But the worst place to be with Suge Knight is standing on a corner.
Yeah, I've been a party. It was NDC H2O. It was a club. And once again, my boy knew him. So he came out and partied with us. And first of all, this is how you know you got power. This dude was dancing with this girl. And Suge was standing next to me. We were talking. And we wrapping it up. And he's laughing and whatever. He's enjoying himself. And he goes, man, I'm going to go dance with that girl. So I'm like, all right, Suge, cool. I'm like, what do you want me to do about it? The dude is dancing with this girl. They getting it on. Shit goes up behind the girl, wraps his arm around her neck, and he just danced with her like this. And I could see the dude like, yo, what? Until he recognized who it was. This dude backed up, turned his back, and went ahead and got a drink or went to the bathroom. And the girl was like, who? So she turned around and was like, oh shit, you Suge Knight. And so she gave him a little 1-2 step, and she just darted. Right? And I was just like, any other situation, a dude like, yo, what are you grabbing my you? And Suge gave a trip. He looked at homie looked at him, and he was just like, you got it. She's like, he was just like, boom. We left that club. This is real talk. I put my hand on the Bible. We left this club. It was about 20 of us with Suge, and it was nothing but like a sea of cars and dudes waiting for him. Like, he had like his own security. Yeah. You can tell these were all dudes who weren't licensed. These were all motherfuckers that was ready for some work. And he was like, y'all want to come? He's like, we gonna go to another spot. Y'all want to ride? And I was like, hell no. I was like, tonight was enough. But he was cool. I had no problems. Suge was always very nice to me. Very cool. Love you, Leave it at that. You know, Leave it at that. I know you're going through a lot right now. Best of luck to you. But I never had a bad interaction with him. It was just always a moment when I was with him. It was always some type of like, I'm gonna put that in the history books.
Fantastic. I want to ask one more thing, get your opinion on this, and then we'll let you go.
Yeah.
6 games for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
You know, my personal belief is it's layered, right? Because the man had already set out a year, right? They got him his money for that. He went to 2 jurisdictions, right? Juries, excuse me. They let him. He didn't come in. They let him go. The biggest problem I have with the situation, I think it's apart from the Deshaun situation. Obviously, first of all, obviously the allegations, everything that transpired is egregious. So let me just state that. I have a lot of empathy for the victims or whoever's going through, whoever's a part of that. But the fast forward is in the CBA, I think it's Article 46. The players, we gave Roger Goodell and the NFL the permission and then allowed him to be the judge during execution, right? So that's one side of it. The other side of it is that the NFL then, after not agreeing with whatever came from it, went out and hired this lady, Judge Sue L. Robinson, right, to do her job. Now, you understand, prior to this coming out, people were getting annoyed with her that she was fine-combing this thing, that she was really vetting everything out, that she was reading all the stories. She did her job. This is what she came up with. And valid, she's saying it's consistent to the other stuff, but the NFL as a whole has been inconsistent with giving out rulings as at all. So my issue is, if the players gave Roger Goodell and the powers to be the judge during execution, what was the whole point of going to get Judge Sue Robinson? If ultimately you're going to come up with the final decision of how you want to handle Deshaun Watson. So that's my point. So my thing is, the NFL has to now come to grips with, we can't get this right. We don't have the personnel. We don't have the people. We don't have the whatever to make the right decisions when it comes to handle our players on this type of level. So what we need to do is say, just like, and this is why I award the NBA, because look at what old boy from Charlotte's going through with the domestic violence, right?
Yeah.
The NBA is siding with the courts. Whatever the court says, whatever it is, we're going to go with it and we're going to move forward. We're only going to handle NBA business because we don't have that with them. That's what the NFL needs to do. They can't handle everything. All you handle football, whatever a guy does off the field, leave it to the courts. And what the court says is the rule. And that should be it. So that's my take.
Thanks, buddy. Willie, I can't thank you enough, man.
Rex, you're dope, man. Big fan.
Let's do this again.
I used to have the basketball card, everything, man. I love it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
thanks, bro.
The wristbands dunking and shit.
All right, Willie. Same. Let's do it again.
Awesome.
Willie Colon, what a dude. What a guy, Josh.
He's shy, though.
Yeah, it doesn't really not real. Yeah.
Wow. You see why it's funny, people that have broadcast careers and go into the media afterwards that are huge stars, you get it. But, he wasn't like a super household name, but you see why he fits right in on the opinion radio and podcast and television. I mean, he's got the gift of gab for sure. For sure. It makes it, and you see why he's a great teammate. Pro sports locker rooms can be, it's just a strange existence. And
Not everybody's wired the same. People don't come in. You have moody guys on the team. Not that guy. That guy comes in, he's the same every day, brings the level of consistency every day just with his personality. That's the fun part, you know, because they're dog days during a football season, basketball season. Yeah.
I could talk to him for 2 more hours, all his stories, anecdotes.
Same. Well, buddy, want to do it again next week?
I sure would.
Let's do it. The Rex Chapman Show. We'll be back. That was episode 48 or 49. I don't know. 49. Can't remember now. 49 episode. See you next time. The Rex Chapman Show with my super dope homeboy, Josh Hopkins from the Lextown, powered by basketballnews.com. See ya.